Hello, hello and welcome everyone. My name is Chaima and I'm the content strategist here at Labasad, and we are very delighted to have you join us for today's masterclass with Eynon Jones, an illustrator and graphic designer, to present his session, Grow Your Style and Take on Commercial Projects as an Illustrator. And at the end of the presentation, we will have a Q&A. Feel free to turn your camera on and microphones to ask any questions you have. And also, if you prefer, you can type them in the chat. I hope everyone is hearing me now. But before stepping into this interesting masterclass, let's take a moment to introduce you Labasad and what makes our learning experience unique. So at Labasad, we are very proud to be the only exclusively online design school that offers 100% live format. This approach creates an immersive and interactive experience, making online learning as engaging as in-person classroom. To give you a clearer picture of our impact, here are some key statistics about Labasad. We have 94% of students recommend Labasad. More than 4,000 students have studied with us for now, and more than 250 instructors, all of them professionals actively working in their fields. And our global community includes students from around the world, more than 54 countries, including Germany, the United States, Spain, Italy, Mexico, and many more. And Labasad's reputation extends beyond our students. We have been featured in Creative Boom, also in Nice Dad, and many other media. And one of the things that set Labasad apart is our dedication to supporting students beyond the classroom. So our programs offer opportunities for international recognition. For example, here Vanessa Garcia in the picture, a student of the online Master in Strategic Packaging Design, received a global acclaim at the Penta Award 2024 in London, winning gold in food and silver in luxury goods. And so why study at Labasad? Here are just a few reasons. Our faculty consists of professionals from around the globe, as I said, and who bring a real-world experience directly to the classrooms. We guide our students throughout their learning journey, ensuring they always feel connected and supported all the time. Beyond the curriculum, students have access to different opportunities such as workshops, masterclass like this one with Eynon Jones, group follow-up sessions, participation in awards as Vanessa, Labasad Live, networking, and many more opportunities. And if this all resonated with you and you want more information and you want to take the next step in your creative career, now it's the perfect timing. So the application period for our master's programs is now open with classes starting in May 2025. And for more details, feel free to contact us at info@labasad.com. And you can also reach us via iPhone, phone, or social media, and follow us to see student, instructor project, as well as the latest Labasad news. And now it's my pleasure to introduce you Eynon Jones, an illustrator and graphic designer, whose journey from kitchen table projects to working with brands like Häagen-Dazs, Adobe, Coca-Cola, is truly inspiring. Today, he will share key insights on developing a unique style, showcasing work in galleries, and breaking into commercial illustration. I hope you enjoy it, and please remember that at the end, you can ask any questions you may have, and Eynon will be glad to answer all of them. It's over to you, Eynon.
Hey, how's it going? You hear me okay?
Yeah, everything is okay.
Okay, lovely stuff. Let me,
Good to have you.
thank you for having me. I'm excited. Okay. If my calculations are correct, you might be able to see my presentation.
Yeah, definitely.
Hooray. All right. Cool. Okay, let's do a presentation. Let me set my timer so I know what time I'm on. Okay. Hey, my name's Eynon. All right, nice to meet you. Thanks for joining me. You seem pretty cool. This is me in my studio. I can't really smile in photos, so I look pretty vacant there. But I work in this little studio. I was gonna say I live in this little studio. I work in this little studio in my garden, and I collect everything I work on, and I'm kind of surrounded by it. I live in this little shrine to illustration, like a mad person really. And I'm going to talk to you today about growing your style and taking on commercial projects as an illustrator. It's a masterclass, which let's not use that word because that sounds a bit too serious. Let's take it more casual and we'll have some fun. I started illustrating in lockdown. I was a graphic designer. I still dabble in graphic design, but I love illustration. I started doing that on my kitchen table in lockdown, just out of pure boredom, really. Just to keep happy because I find the news very depressing, and it's been a wild ride, really. I started just drawing 1 or 2 illustrations on my kitchen table, and I ended up doing stuff, commercial projects, and getting stuff into galleries. And it's been a bit of a journey, really. And I just want to take you through that journey, I guess, and show you how I got into certain projects. It's got lots of twists and turns and loop the loops, and overall it was a lot of fun, this journey. So buckle up and join me on my journey. Okay, let's do it. Yeah, no one can pronounce my name. It's Eynon, like your eye. Everyone's like, hey, Eynon, hey, Enyon, and like no one can say it, but it's Eynon, like your eye. And I just thought I'd nip that in the bud now. And I believe in finding joy through creativity. I do it to keep myself happy, really, and if anyone else likes it, that's a complete bonus, really. I'm doing it purely for myself, really. I know what I like, and if anyone else likes it too, that's really cool. But I'm trying to tick a little box inside myself of what I like. I also believe in good people. Like it's one thing doing cool work, but good people will give you commissions, and they'll come forward. If you do good work, you'll find good people that will like want to represent you as an agent, or they'll want to buy a print. So it's one thing having the illustration, but finding the people is also the second part. If you get both of those things right, you can probably work on some cool projects, really. So I'm an illustrator and designer. I'm very dyslexic, so I'm very bad with words, so like bear with me during this presentation. I'm way more into images, and yeah, I'm really into finding joy. As I said, I find the news just like utterly heartbreaking, and like makes me very depressed watching the news. It has done for for the last 10 years, actually. It just seems to get worse every day, to be honest. So I use illustration to take me out of that. I live in this little happy little world in my mind where I illustrate, and I'm always thinking about illustration. I just obsess over that rather than obsess about bad news, I guess. So that's a bit about me. I would try and describe my work to you, but I'm going to bore you to death trying to describe it. So here's a reel. Right, it makes me want to dance a bit. Just don't do that. It's a masterclass. Just keep it serious. Yeah, so that was a bit of my work. Yeah, I've struggled to describe it. If I start describing it, I'll take the magic out of it. Really, I don't know what it is really, but this was last year. I really was a busy boy last year, and I did lots of cool projects. And yeah, I guess it was a mixture of editorial work, maybe large scale graphics, large scale illustration, like tiny scale illustration, like small stickers and things like that. Brand work, prints, food, figurative. I don't know what the hell it is really, but it just makes me happy. And I've been trusted by a few brands to like do it with them. I guess if I was to describe it, I'd say it's stripped back, maybe summer colors. But the main thing I like about the style I have is that I could flex between 2D and 3D and go into motion, or go real simple, or go really complicated. I kind of like range. I like, I don't want to do the same thing over and over again. I mean, I hope it all ties together at some point, but I like to like try different things and change the equation sometimes, whether it be a color or going to a different dimension, like 3D. Yeah, so this is my world. welcome to it. And like, it's been a fun journey doing this in lockdown and like doing it for the last few years. But I wanted to talk about the journey, I guess, and not just look at these images, I guess. So I'm going to take you all the way back. We got like 40 minutes here, so I've got to go all the way back here. I've got to fill some time. So let's go back. I went to university and I studied history of art, and I did it for one day. I quit my course after one day at university because I think I chose the wrong course. I chose history of art, and as I said, I'm a lifelong dyslexic. I'm like a real committed dyslexic person. I'm really loyal to being dyslexic, and it was a bad idea, this course, because they wanted me to do a 10,000 word essay and read this really boring book called The Story of Art. It looks like a bit of concrete. It kind of takes all the fun out of art, just even looking at the book. Don't look at it for too long. And yeah, so I was really daunted by this. I went to uni, kind of just I picked a course at random almost, and I didn't have any belief in myself creativity wise to do anything creative really. I was studying history of art, and yeah, like I was freaking out. It was the first day. I was Freshers Week. I don't want to do a 10,000 word essay. Are you kidding me? Are you crazy? Like I want to go to indie night. So I want to party. So I went to my pub. I was in crisis mode. It was my first day of uni. I don't know what to do. I don't want to do this course. I was freaking out. And I met my friend there called Dan, who ended up being like a really good mate of mine, but he was on another table at the pub. And I was eating my pork scratchings and having a few pints and just I was kind of looking at this book, just like, not getting on with it at all. It looked pretty boring. And I don't want to criticize or critique art really. I don't know why I'm even on this course. I want to create it really. So I spoke to him, and my friend Dan was doing graphic design, and his task was to make a pet, an imaginary pet, and bring it in. I still think he mucked it. I don't think he brought it in. I think it was a lazy bastard. He didn't do it. But I thought that sounds a bit more me. That I don't do a 10,000 word essay. That making an imaginary pet, so would be the dream. So I stumbled from the pub to the graphic design school, and I think I drank 3 or 4 pints, and I was just very confused where I was going in my life. And I asked, can I change to graphic design? And to my amazement, they said, yeah, no problem. I didn't realize it would be this easy. And they said, did you get a B in art? And I said, yes, I did have a B in art, because I had a B in art. And the next thing I knew, I was learning about apples, and I was learning about Apple Macs and learning about Adobe and getting a basic knowledge of kind of everything creative. And it was a great decision. So I met my wife there, and I met my best friends there, and I learned everything, opened my eyes to all things creative. So yeah, it was a good decision. I'm glad I got off of history of art. Good luck to people that do it though. Nothing wrong with it, but it wasn't for me. I went to London. There's lots of pigeons there. Watch out, they're pretty poo on you. I became a graphic designer, and I had a lot of fun. I was 10 years as a graphic designer, probably more actually. And I still do graphic design occasionally. But I like graphic design. I like making things look beautiful, and I like doing cool creative work. But if I'm going to be totally honest with you, because you seem pretty cool to me, I can tell you. I really struggled to climb the ladder. I really struggled to like say the right thing to the big scary MD or the boss or whatever, or like, suck up to that creative director or whatever. I really struggled with that ladder thing. I love doing the work, but yeah, that was another skill set I didn't really have. And I've got a nice little graphic portfolio. I'm kind of great to do projects on graphics and stuff, but yeah, playing the game and all that stuff, like I respect people that can do it. It's not something I have. I'm jealous of people that do have it. I always just, I wouldn't really drink the Kool-Aid of the design agency or something. I always just say the wrong thing, and I'd always feel a bit of a plonker. So yeah, I struggled in that sense, the LinkedIn part of the job, terrible at all that stuff. But anyway, so yeah, as a designer, I was obsessed with illustration. I don't know why I'm whispering about that. I was obsessed with illustration. And I would go to this exhibition called Pick Me Up, where my eyes were open to like people like James Joyce, Anthony Burrell, Studio Morris, Risotto Studio, Malika Favre, Rob Ryan. This was a little exhibition in Somerset House. It's gone now. But I was a stressed out graphic designer. I really wanted to do illustration. I didn't have the time to do it. I worshipped all these people, and it was just another world to me. And it was something I loved, and I was a bit of a fanboy of it all, really. But I just didn't have the time. I was doing a 9 to 5, and I'd go home and go to the pub on Friday. I'd spend the weekend recovering and just do the same thing. And I did this for like 10 years almost. And I just never really I dabbled a little bit in illustration. I knew I liked it, but I just never really thought I could pursue it. I didn't believe in myself at all to do it. And I didn't really have a style to do it. So I don't know, maybe that was all to come because I was given a bit of a gift. Maybe it was a bit of a gift. It was lockdown and I had nothing to do. It was a really weird time. I had all this time on my hands. I was actually waiting for a baby to come, but I had a little window of time. Most people were doing baking and cycling and knitting, painting Warhammer. No judgment. Good luck to the geeks and stuff. But I chose to do an illustration, and I got really kind of into it. I was looking for a style, and it's really scary. Like you've got a blank bit of paper and you don't know what to illustrate. So I had to, you don't want to rip something off, but you want to get inspiration from somewhere. So I'll tell you my secret. Like I'll tell you my secret ingredients that I chose to use for illustration. I picked up my Mac and I started illustrating a lot of stuff that was very similar to Patrick Corfield. I had a book on my desk, and I had it on my desk for about 10 years, never actually looked at it. I started opening it, and there were these bold graphic images that were kind of vectory, a bit graphic designy. And I kind of thought, oh, this is cool. I like the way the guy's playing with light and his colors. I thought this is cool, and then yeah, there was more uses of light, and I just thought this is kind of interesting. And then I looked up on my wall and I saw Matisse, and I had a poster of Matisse on my wall, and I loved all his ultramarine blues, and he would go between 3D and 2D as well. I thought, oh, that's cool. I like the use of blue. And there was a guy called Mark Parr I was kind of obsessed with, who does silly little photos of British people and has a laugh at kind of British culture. And I thought, oh, this is kind of funny. This is kind of like, I kind of like the humor in this. So this is like my little starting base really for any kind of illustration, was these probably a mixture of these three things: Patrick Corfield, Martin and Matisse was my little like melting pot really. And there was people hoarding, it was lockdown, so people were like collecting toilet rolls, and people were getting a bit nutty. Like people were, it was a weird time. It was kind of a really, I don't know, it was a bittersweet time, wasn't it? It was kind of fun, but at the same time it was kind of sad because it was a disease going around. So I started drawing toilet rolls. I started by drawing like people hoarding, people collecting things. So I started drawing little shapes of like really simple, I chose pink, blue, and orange, and I kind of fell in love with this color scheme. I hadn't really seen anyone else using it. I thought, oh, this color scheme is kind of interesting. And there was something kind of funny about this guy. He looked quite very stereotypically British, like a gentleman hoarding. And I just thought, oh, that's funny. And then it was hot, and I live near Essex. I'm on the border of East London, but Essex, I'm very near Essex. And a lot of people look like this. People were in the sun and they were in lockdown, but they were trapped in their house. So yeah, so I drew this. I drew people in lockdown on the balconies because we were all trapped in our flats. And I was just having fun really with what I was seeing in the news and what I saw when I was walking out of my house really. And it was a weird time. People were in the sun, all hiding away, stuck in their rooms like we all were. And people were putting rainbows on their windows. I don't know if you guys were doing that too. And we were putting like stickers on saying we love NHS, our health system. And this really resonated with people. I was just putting a few images on Instagram, and this kind of image was getting a lot of traction. I was noticing people were liking it, and it got into a book called Designers Against Coronavirus, which Malika Favre was kind of the main person in that book. And I thought, oh, this is cool. Like I wasn't expecting this to go anywhere, but people would want to buy it. And so I was actually producing prints of it and selling it to people as well. And then, alcohol was a big thing for me in lockdown. A lot of drinking, but I'd start drawing the bottles, and I'd start drawing like all the different kind of brands and like different pints and stuff. Like I was kind of just having fun in a 2D way. This is my initial start of illustration, really. And I just thought, oh, this is really fun. I quite like the simplicity of all these kind of drinks and bottles. And then I added a person to it, and this is just called working from home. So I was just doing this to make myself smile, like a man with a headset who has no use in his pants is, quite a funny thing to look at. So I was just laughing to myself doing this, and like Time Out London picked up on it. I don't know, I put it on Instagram, and it got into Time Out on the website. They had the top 5 illustrators in lockdown, and like it was on this website, and I thought, whoa, okay, I'm still sticking to this pink, blue, and orange thing. I'm kind of getting a style here. I'm just doing it to entertain myself, really. But other people seem to like it, and that was kind of interesting. And then I'd go to the woods and I'd see people like this. We call them middle-aged men in lycra, mammals. I'd see a lot of these guys like cycling around in lockdown. I thought this was a guy from Daft Punk, but actually no, it was a cyclist. He was cycling past me, and I'd look in my mirror in my car. There'd be a man like screaming at me with a Red Bull logo on his head and stuff. I thought, oh, these are kind of funny people. So I started drawing kind of cyclists and like getting them to move. And it was in this blue and pink world thing. And I was having a lot of fun, really, just for my own amusement. But it was kind of like gaining a little bit traction on Instagram. I was just uploading it as I went. And then I guess cocktails, instead of drawing the bottles, I started drawing what I saw on my floor. Like I had light coming through my shutters, and it was creating a grid on my floor. And I thought, this is cool. I love the light, and I love flipping to 3D. No longer 2D bottles and stuff. I can now go 3D. And I was obsessed with terrazzo because the place where I was buying my food from in lockdown had terrazzo tables. I thought that was beautiful. I really got into the pattern and the simplicity and jumping into this 3D world. So this was kind of like my happy place, really. I just drew cocktail after cocktail with different lights, and then other cocktails. I was getting obsessed with cocktails and terrazzo, and I just kept going with that. And then I guess I was trying to like find a style, I guess. So I had some kind of style going on that went between 2D and 3D. I tried to I got help from a motion guy called Sam who helped me make it move, and I thought, this is cool. It now works with movement. That's interesting. I'm kind of liking this little range of things this illustration can do. I just obsessed with swimming pools. This is a cool one. Take a breather. Actually, it's pretty chilling, doesn't it? Just relax. So yeah, I was going into an area I was kind of really excited by, and I was getting a lot of joy from these kind of things. Like they were making me feel happy. The world was kind of falling apart, and I was just obsessing over this world instead, really. This like little tropical little paradise world where I was very happy illustrating. I was kind of escaping coronavirus, and as the summer went, it got kind of dark, to be honest. It wasn't very fun, coronavirus, after a few months. It was actually a very depressing time. So I would turn to these images just to get me through the day, almost. Like it would be like I'd love to worry about an illustration or cracking that illustration rather than the cure of coronavirus. So I'd kind of draw my bathtub, or I was kind of thinking, looking back on it now and I look at these images, I was kind of growing my style. I was trying to take simple things. I was trying to like maybe extend on it. Like doing a cocktail was cool, but maybe it could be food. Maybe one day I'll do an illustration for a food brand, or maybe it would be used for a restaurant or something. I kind of maybe at the back of my mind thought maybe I should just test myself and not do the same thing. Maybe just push it a little bit. Maybe not do pink, blue, and orange because I was probably going to make me really bored. So I'd just put other colors, and then maybe I'd open my fridge and maybe I could draw different brands. Maybe someone might commission me for like, I don't know, like Heinz beans or something. Or I was just thinking in the back of my mind of just growing myself with my style so other people might commission me one day. Who knows? That was a wild dream to be commissioned. But I just wanted to keep going and trying different things with my style. I was watching a lot of Bake Off on the TV, so I'd be drawing a lot of like cakes and just imagining cakes and like getting fascinated by how beautiful they were. And then I thought, oh, maybe I shouldn't just do 3D food. I should do people. Maybe one day, maybe I could do a commission that's based about, I don't know, someone on a holiday or something, or it could be a magazine article about people. So I tried to finesse people, so I had the working from home man, or I had the cyclists, but I was trying to like extend it. I don't want to sit still. So I'd kind of do this kind of thing. Or, I was walking home and I saw a rat drinking a bottle from a beer bottle. And I thought, oh, that's cool. I kind of like, maybe I could draw wildlife. Maybe one day I'll do a wildlife illustration for someone. So I was just doing these for fun. But I guess maybe looking back on it now, I was really just pushing myself, I guess, to find a style that was adaptable and could do figurative and food. And, it could be if someone wanted a commission for a wacky idea, maybe I could do it. So I was just kind of I was honing on my skill set, I guess, maybe. But it always came back to cocktails. I mean, it still does. And, this was very Matisse blue, which I'm obsessed with. So maybe sometimes I'll take away all the color and just do one color, or like just obsess on blue. So I was always just trying to change things up every time. I didn't want people to second guess what I was going to do. So I was always trying to change it a little bit. And my studio started to look like this. I was living in this little shed at the end of my garden, really. And I've just kept people asking for prints on social media. So I was printing a lot, and I was putting them up on my wall, which I'm in the studio now, surrounded by all this stuff. I look like a mad person, really. But, it was making me feel good. Like, looking at colorful images was making me feel good. And I just kept going, really. And yeah, it was cheering me up. Sounds so simple, really. And I'd put it on social media, and people would buy it. And I think this was a kind of part of my journey, actually, was not just sitting on, don't just put it on Instagram, right? Just maybe put yourself out there. I thought, oh, maybe I'll sell this. This is interesting. So I sold one or two because people just came to me asking. So I put on social media, like selling prints, blah, blah, blah. And I got way more orders than I thought I would, because I think people in lockdown were all looking at their walls at home, and they were going bonkers, pretty going crazy with the mental health. And, it's a depressing time now after 6 months of it. But I think people wanted to cheer themselves up. So people wanted to put nice stuff on their walls. They were trying to beautify their house, really, because they were sick of looking at like the same old house. So I was getting more orders than I thought I would. And I'd go around East London, and I'd drop them off at people's doors without like trying to give them coronavirus. I'd ring the doorbell and stand back. I wasn't going door to door, by the way. I was like a salesman or anything, but I was just putting it out on social media. People were DMing me, and I'd drive, to Shoreditch or Victoria Park, and all around East London, and where I live, a place called Hymes Park and Walthamstow. And I remember one guy opened the door, and this was quite a big moment actually for me, looking back on it now. This guy probably like said something that kind of inspired me, or maybe changed my mindset of what I was doing. He said, "Oh, I like your print. I know someone that works at a gallery. I can introduce you." And I thought, holy shit, like I never expected to be in a gallery. I was just doing this because from a few DMs. But he said, "I know someone in Shoreditch, like the hipster part of London, has a gallery, and maybe he's interested." And so I followed it up, and they wanted to sell a cocktail print. They wanted to sell that one. You can see it there actually on my rug. It's my living room, the one on the left. That cocktail there, the pink one. They wanted to sell that. But they wanted me to stamp up like £2,000, and I hadn't no money because I was in lockdown, and I couldn't afford that. I wasn't going to be able to afford it, and I sadly had to say no. So I had an offer though. That was a cool thing. I had an offer. I said no to the offer, and I thought, actually, wait a sec, I could use this offer. Now I've got some ammunition here. I've got a currency. I've got something. And I thought maybe I could approach other galleries and just tell them about this, and maybe they might be interested. So that's what I did. I kept doing prints, and I approached other galleries. And like my wife, Sarah, who's kind of a little bit of my creative director, to be honest. She's like the only opinion I really care about. Really, I trust my own opinion of illustration, but I'll show Sarah as well, and I really care about what she thinks. And she's got a really good eye, and she knew someone called Anya. And Anya worked at a really cool gallery called They Made This, which is in Covent Garden and Brighton and King's Cross now, actually. And she's kind of like, of all the contacts to know, she's like the ultimate god, really, of illustration and graphics. And her gallery, to me, is a really big deal, because they have people in there that I actually really adore. And it kind of reminded me of Pick Me Up, that exhibition I showed you at the beginning. There's a reason I showed you Pick Me Up. But it really reminded me of Pick Me Up, that exhibition I was telling you about. It was the same kind of people. It was kind of like, Morag Myskoff, Rude Studio, Super Mundane, Mary Lou Ford, never say her name, Margot in Margate. These people are all kind of like people I worshipped. Crispin Finn's number. People I completely worshipped. And they said to me, we'll sell a few prints if you want. We'll do it. I told her about my predicament, about my problem about the £2,000, £2,000. And they said, oh yeah, we'll just we won't do like really, expensive screen prints. We'll just, sell it like for a cheap amount of money, maybe like 30, 40 quid, and we'll sell like five, or we'll sell five. And so suddenly these were the prints we started stocking. And this was kind of a really exciting moment for me, I guess. Like, the people I was next to were people, I never dreamed of being anywhere near. They're like total heroes of mine, and they all come from that pick me up exhibition, almost that kind of energy. And this gallery was cool. It wasn't like a stuffy gallery like you find. I don't like galleries that sell art for £30,000, and I don't like the feeling of those galleries because you walk in and you feel uncomfortable. I don't want to be there, and the price is intimidating. I just don't enjoy. I don't really understand fine art really, but I understood this. I understood graphics and illustration, prints, and like Anthony Burrell and cool people like Rude Studio. Like, I understood that, and I loved that style, and it was an honor to be part of it. And people would start buying it, and people would be tagging it on Instagram, and it would come back to me, and I was just really honored. And like, now I really believe in people. I didn't really used to believe in people, but now I believe in good people. I believe that good work, if you believe in it, will get to other good people, and from that, exciting things will happen. It led me to Anya and Elle, that they made this, like, following joy in creativity leads to cool people. And yeah, that's kind of my philosophy really. And it was going somewhere, and it was gaining traction. And then I thought, maybe some of the people in They Made This have agents, so why don't I have an agent? Maybe I could. And I approached a few agents. Literally no one responded. I just got like completely ghosted, and that's something you get used to. But I guess I probably emailed about like five or seven maybe. And yeah, no responses, apart from maybe one or two said no. One was a firm no, and one was a no. And I noticed they followed me on Instagram. So I guess my takeout from that is, yeses are great, didn't get any of those. No's are okay, and ghosting is the worst thing in the world. Like, there's nothing worse than being ghosted and ignored. But the no, I saw the follow on Instagram, and it was by an illustration agency, or actually they do lots of stuff, but they're called Making Pictures. And I noticed they were following me. So I guess the no was something, I was just grateful to get something. They were following me. And maybe about a year later, that no turned into a yes. I saw they were following me. I kept doing commercial stuff just because I knew they were following me. I thought, oh, let's just show commercial things. I was actually doing little jobs here and there. And people were coming to me for commercial work. So I never be disheartened by a no, basically. Never let a no be a dead end. It's not a dead end. If anything, like, it's a bloody good thing. You're on the radar. And yeah, no's are good, weirdly. And they did turn to a yes. And I went with Tim and Grace from Making Pictures. They're my Mulder and Scully. They're my agents. And they're my super agents, really. And they've been really good to me. And they're really cool agents, illustration agency, but they do, other things like CGI, motion, photography, a lot of photography. But then it's an honor to be part of them. There's a lot of people in there that I really have worshipped my whole life as well. So to be near them is, a dream come true. And I never thought I'd be anywhere near any of these people. I still get a buzz from being represented by them. But yeah, anyway, so from the illustration agent, Making Pictures, I started, doing things, more commercial things, I guess. And I guess if it wasn't for like me mucking about in lockdown and playing with styles, these commissions would be really hard. But actually, because I'd been mucking about for a year or two in lockdown, I felt like I had a little like arsenal of like things I could use for projects, like drawing people. So, if someone would use a person, I was like, oh, here we go, copy and paste. No, joking, but I just go and grab some old stuff and kind of move on a little bit. But I was feeling a bit more confident because I had these years of practicing, and a lot of the work's editorial. So that top left one is Ocado. That's someone called Fern Cotton. And then with newspapers, there'll be Time Out, London, The Guardian. We have a newspaper called The Guardian. I do a lot of stuff for that. And I'd get columns in magazines. So I'll be doing a lot of, like this magazine called Ocado magazine. I'll be doing a lot of ones about food, or like this one down here, the green one, that's Ocado as well. Or Boots, like a chemist, they'll have a magazine. The top left one's a magazine called Stylist. So that would be these are the interesting ones actually. Editorial, it's there's not as much money as other jobs. Editorial, probably like probably not too much money in it. But if you have a paid like, those articles you're reading and halfway through you realize it's an advert. It's like, oh, you got me, it's an advert. Those ones actually do pay okay. So those are good ones. Watch out for those. They're good ones. And the top right one, that's Stylist, and it's paid for by Gordon's. And I had great fun doing that one. It's my first ones, actually, one of my first editorial jobs. And then the Observer newspaper, and that bottom left one's a food one for Eurostar in Metropolitan magazine, which is a really good magazine, and they have really cool illustration in that magazine. So as always, if you're ever on a train, the Eurostar train, watch out for the magazine. It's got some cool illustration in. And then I guess this was one of my favorite ones. This was an editorial for Boots. I kind of liked it because it looked like a mural, but it wasn't. It was an editorial, but it was kind of like it's a little device I did this quite a lot, actually. I do a little divide line in my illustration, and one side would be one story and the other side would be another story. This was about here's why switching digi habits for real life experiences could be the best thing you did. Good point, actually. You should do that. But get off it sometimes, you know. Yeah, the bottom half is the best piece of the top dancing. I'm trying to say like the yin and the yang about getting off your phone. And I guess I was just learning editorial pieces. I've been doing a lot of spot illustrations on the left. So you do like a series of small illustrations that will pop up through the article, and you have a main illustration for the main page or something. I was kind of learning to master, little small illustrations. I'd have more fun doing the small illustrations actually than doing these like, big pieces. So I was just learning. I treat them like almost like brand projects, really, like making a kit of parts that you could pull together as a main illustration, and then have loads of little ones. So I was learning about how to tackle commercial editorial illustrations, really. And this is another one. This is a newspaper article. They're called NZZ. They're a really cool newspaper in Switzerland, I think. They're a bit like the Times. They're quite a serious newspaper. So to get like a bold, colourful illustration in this kind of black and white newspaper felt actually like really cool, and like I was proud to be in this newspaper just because it was like I never thought I'd be in a serious newspaper like this. But this article was about someone in the city and the other side someone in the countryside, and they'd meet together on these two pages. And yeah, that was a total joy to do that. And then brand, I do a lot of editorial, but brand work. So it could be packaging, it could be something on the website for someone, or it could be like the look and feel of a company. This middle top one is actually work pride or something, but that was kind of cool because they wanted about 50 illustrations, and then when you put them together they wanted a master one. So it's so fun doing all the little illustrations, the spot illustrations, and putting it together for a big impact one was just complete joy. It could be a flyer or a leaflet that would hand out for direct mail. So I was doing a lot of brand things as well. This is one I just did recently for Adobe, which is kind of cool. I finally got some money back from my subscription to Adobe. I've been paying a lot, but yeah, they're nice people, it turns out. And this felt like returning to the mothership, really, because I've been using Adobe for so long, and to do anything with Adobe is, a dream. So this was, they asked me to do postcards they're going to hand out at their like talks and stuff. So it was like advice to entrepreneurs or creative people, I guess. And like, I guess it's what I follow. My mantra is grow your joy. Find what makes you joyful, and just never stop growing it and keep going. So I was kind of picking up on like the Adobe software, really. So you've got illustration in the top right, you've got photography in there, you've got music, you've got film, and I was wrapping it with plants, and I was just trying to get this idea of growing your joy through Adobe. And yeah, to be working with Adobe is pretty sick, to be honest. I'm really proud of that. This is a company that used me from day one. So working on big brands is cool, but this brand's someone I know from back in the day, actually, from as a graphic designer. They started a company which they sell the most amazing furniture. They're called Really Well Made, and they've supported me right from day one, actually, and I'm really grateful to that. When I didn't do any commercial stuff, they were from my first commercial job, really, for branding. So I'll do stuff for their website, and like these are stickers that go out with their packaging. These are summer ones, summer themed ones. But it's just an excuse to draw really cool furniture, and I love working on them. I do stuff for them all the time. This is actually for them. This illustration here, they just moved to Peckham, so I was obsessed with drawing South London hipsters. I love drawing hipsters because they wear like the nicest clothes and they're so fun to draw. I get a lot of joy looking at hipsters trainers. So this was real fun to draw, but it's actually part of a big banner that goes on their website. and it's celebrating like local buildings in the area and hipsters that have in that area who buy cool furniture. So this is a joy, really. There's a Only Fools and Horses van in there. It's like a sitcom that's based in Peckham in the UK. But yeah, that's a joy. And then this is Coca-Cola. This is for a mural for the head office in Austin, Texas. They wanted to like celebrate the people that work there, and this was a total joy. I should actually get some photos of this. I sent it off and they painted it for me, which is pretty cool. Which leads me into, I want to get more into large scale, but I do a bit of large scale stuff sometimes. This stuff on the right is my solo exhibition I did a lot recently. On the left, there's the Coca-Cola thing, and I've got a 120-foot wall. It's by the same people that the Coca-Cola thing with. And it's like, it's absolute beast. It goes to the gym. So I just got obsessed with trying to get as many cool looking sporty people in there. And then it's got little nods to the local area. I think it's called Addison in Texas. So I'm getting a few like little landmarks in there. And that took me ages because it's so long. It just kept going. But, you know, to see it come to life, and they had a team that installed it for me, which is, you know, I'm a lazy bugger, really, I should do it. But I can't get to Texas. But they painted it all for me. And that was, you know, a total joy. You can see in the left, top left, there's someone painting it. So yeah, stuff, you know, I started on my kitchen table, was going to Austin, Texas, was a complete like joyous thing for me. And then I'd always go back to food and drink. You know, I'd been doing those cocktail illustrations in lockdown. So yeah, I was getting quite a few people were coming to me for them. They were coming for like food illustration. So I guess my style, it does range a bit, but in my mind, I kind of see it all coming together. I know it can be 2D and flat with people, but I sometimes think, what was if that person I'm drawing went into a 3D world? So I like to go between those two dimensions and I just want to keep myself open really to lots of different cool projects. I don't want to just do one thing. I'd be so bored if I just did one thing. So food and drink is something I come back to. And yeah, I've worked with all these clients now, and you know, from going from a kitchen table because I was bored, drawing people in their pants in the sun. It's gone on to like all these cool clients. I guess, to be honest with you, I used to be scared of clients. I used to like work at graphic design studios, and people would be like, the client's a nightmare or whatever. And like, I just now I'm working directly with them, or sometimes through a cool design agency. But I started to realize that there's nothing to be scared of. There are actually just cool people trying to get cool work, and I think they want you. They when they come to me, I think they want me to have fun, and they want to have fun too. And it's just been a bit of a revelation, really, that clients are actually, if you just do what you enjoy, then hopefully they'll enjoy it too. And I just really believe in that. So I think when you get stressed out and you lose sight of just the enjoyment, I think that's probably when the client might not like it. So I always just try and have fun, and like I want to feel good from what I'm drawing, and they seem to respond to that. That's like my only advice I could really say, really, to get commercial work, is just like, don't lose sight of having fun with it. And I guess with all these projects, I guess I'm always trying to grow a little bit. So if there's something in an illustration that I like, I'll probably try and get that thing I liked from that illustration, and I'll probably try and evolve it. You know, it could be a few shapes, and I'll be, the next project, maybe I'll go back to that person, the way they were sat, or like, I don't know, maybe that angle of that cocktail, maybe I'll go back into that world. So I'm always trying to like think like what I'm going to do next, really. So I'm always evolving. And okay, so I'll now talk you through like some case studies that meant something to me. You know, all the projects mean something to me, really, but these ones were moments where I thought, oh, this is really cool. I guess Häagen-Dazs was a really big thing for me. I never thought I'd work on anything like this. You know, I was at a design studio once. I saw them working on Häagen-Dazs. It was an advertising agency, actually. And I just thought I'd never work on that. I was kind of in the corner working on some kind of boring banking thing. I just thought I didn't have any illustration style. I guess I never thought I could work on something as fun as this. And I would just be in the background, really, of these design agencies while they worked on stuff like this. So to get approached to do it in lockdown was really cool. I got approached to do a pitch for Häagen-Dazs, and you know, I was kind of nervous about it, but I just decided to do it as quickly as possible. I think I had like a day to do it anyway, so I had no time to think about it. I just kind of started drawing. I drew this, and it's actually a celebration of these Häagen-Dazs ice creams are going to be cake flavored. They're going to be like a celebration of afternoon tea. So this is pomegranate and orange tart. So I started just drawing as much as much orange as I could and lots of pomegranates. And I wanted to celebrate like the magic of afternoon tea and like the event of it, you know, and like I wanted it to look cool as well. And I wanted to had to fit behind this logo. And it was a tough brief in some ways actually, because like that space is really small. There's not much space behind that logo. Got this massive Häagen-Dazs logo. You're talking like centimeters here. So it has to work as a cool pattern, but also work by itself. And I came up with this. I did another option here that was had no people in it. It was just all about like pattern, I guess, and all about shape of the actual ingredients. But they chose this, and I won the pitch. And I found out about it like a couple of days later. I was actually driving to it's a bit too much information here, but I was driving to Center Parks with my kids in the back. That's like a holiday resort in the UK, and I found out I was entering Center Parks, and I was like, it was a big moment because it was worth a bit of money, and I was really happy. And my agent had really helped me with this project, and yeah, I was blown away. And they wanted the second round of amends that night, or like the next day or something. So I was basically running around Center Parks, going like on the lazy river and the rapids, and I'd get back and like try and finish that. I luckily brought my laptop, so I was finishing my project like in my dressing gown, in my swimming trunks, in the evening. And yeah, like it went somewhere, and they evolved it like this. It ended up looking like this, one flavor. Another flavor was blooming blueberry tart, and I had to sit on it about a year. But I thought because in graphic design, a lot of stuff just gets rejected. You know, it never actually makes the cut. So this got somewhere, and it went live, and it took about a year for it to come to fruition. And it took like 1 or 2 days to make, but I had to wait about a year for it to get released. And it traveled. It started off in Korea, I think, in Asia, and it went to China, and it went all around the world actually. And I was getting tagged on Instagram. Sorry. And that was kind of really exciting. And eventually, it landed in my fridge. Eventually, there it is. It's next to my fish fingers from Morrison's. Thank you. And yeah, you could pick it up and you could scan it with your phone. And these things that I drawn in Center Parks while I was in my swimming trunks were suddenly becoming 3D on my table. It was really kind of, I don't know how they did that, but it's kind of funny to think that something that took so quick to design was like now 3D on my kitchen table. But yeah, this project it meant a lot to me, this project, because I suddenly realized I could do it. And when I was at that design agency watching them design Häagen-Dazs packaging, I remember thinking how stressful that looked, and how there were like people crying and ripping up work, and like working late nights. And I just suddenly realized, as an epiphany really, that life doesn't have to be like that. I don't know why it has to be stressful. Like, creativity should be fun, and that's all really we did. I worked with a company called Love Creative, who are in Manchester, and it was just a joy. I don't know why, not to sound too smug, but I just realized there was another way, and there was a way that I could actually work on these projects, and I didn't have to work on the boring projects, and it didn't have to be like hitting your head against the wall. It could actually be really fun. It was a real eye-opener for me. This is for Christie's. I guess I was doing a lot of these cocktail things, and yeah, I'm doing a lot of cocktail prints. And I got approached by Christie's to do one, which was like a huge deal for me, because Christie's is a big deal. So they wanted me to draw a martini. And I was walking with my son. This is my baby I had in lockdown. He's grown, he's a little toddler here. But we were walking past a swimming pool. I had to draw this martini, and I thought, oh, got to get swimming pool in, right? Like, it goes hand in hand with a cocktail. And I was walking past this swimming pool. It was a cool hotel called Birch in East London. It's gone now. It was a good hotel. And he was just playing with these tiles, I guess. And I just looked at him and thought, oh, wow, okay, that's cool. I like the angles here. Like, that swimming pool looks really retro or something, and the tiles look kind of cool. And I thought that's probably going to be this illustration. And I don't really sketch a lot. I sketch a lot in my head. Like, it sounds completely nuts saying it, but I sketch a lot of ideas out in my mind, and I can see them crystal clear, to be honest. So when I start actually doing Illustrator on my Mac, I've got a basic version, but I started sketching out in my head, like, oh, we'll surround it with botanical plants, and then would put a circle on, because like a circle and straight lines, there's a real kind of contrast that I really like. That's kind of interesting. And then I'd put the drinks on the tray, I guess. But that's kind of how it's going to look. So when I start illustrating, it's kind of easy because, it's there, it's crystal clear in my head, that sketch. And I kind of love this because it kind of went through straight away. There was no mucking about, and the art director was really cool for Chris. And I guess I like it because these shrubs or this botanical stuff around the side, it kind of there's ingredients in there that go in the drinks. There's like wormwood, nutmeg, lavender, chamomile, bitter orange, vanilla. If you look closely, you can like spot maybe like a lavender flower or a chamomile flower or a vanilla pod in the top left. So I was trying to like just, it wasn't random basically, the botanical stuff. It was kind of like hitting their brief. I didn't want to just put it on a tray, the ingredients. I thought it was more clever to like try and put it in the foliage. So that was a joy. Going into Christie's to pick that up was cool. Did like a spot illustration for a Negroni. But yeah, that was kind of to get something into Christie's world. I know it's only editorial in their magazine, but that felt like pretty cool. Time Out London, a really big client for me. I guess I do a lot of work with. I've done a few of them. Maybe I think I've done 4 jobs with them now. But I guess my work's led me to cool people because I've been following what I love, and they liked it too. And I met really cool people. And Time Out London are really cool, and they're a total joy to work with. They're always so supportive, and they always seem to like it straight away, which is kind of great because I hate amends. So yeah, this was a Time Out film guide with Sky. So I've got 2 clients here. I've got Sky and I got Time Out in this one, and they wanted to do a film guide, and I wanted to like get the cool films in. I wanted to get Pulp Fiction. I wanted to get Goodfellas. I get E.T. And they just said, oh no, you can't do that. That's a copyright nightmare. So it has to be generic. So I just tried to have fun with the idea of cinema, I guess. This was a couple on a date, sat on a hot dog. I don't know why, but it felt good. I was like, that's quite, I don't know. It looks cool. I don't know what, just I was having fun with like the sizing and like scale, and just drawing objects you'd have in a cinema. It could be like hand popping out of, Doritos box, or a man sat in popcorn. But I was just enjoying myself with this brief. And I was drawing lots of little small ideas for this film guide, lots of spot illustrations, little small illustrations. So it could be like a man like having a massive slush puppy, or a cinema camera but with too many reels on it. I was just trying to like have a little bit of fun really. So I like to do this sometimes. I like to like do lots of small illustrations and I put them together for one big image. And that's kind of a good way of me doing editorial work or projects really. I don't like to jump in and do a big illustration off the bat. I like to draw, say, like maybe 30 different like small things and then put them together. It's like a little jigsaw puzzle that comes together in the last day almost. I normally do it in the last day, just put it all together, and it's a bit of a joy really, a bit of an adrenaline rush putting it together to come up with a master illustration. So this would go onto the Time Out website. It's made up of all these small illustrations, and that was cool to see it on the website. But this is probably my favorite Time Out one I've done. This was last year. I guess this one here is really cool. I like doing like big brands, but I also like doing local companies. This is a company down the road from me because I live in East London. There's lots of cool entrepreneurs walking around, and this entrepreneur was cycling past my solo exhibition, and he wanted me to do a bottle of brandy. So you never know when you put yourself out there on the street. I had like a window vinyl on my gallery, and he saw that, and he wanted to do a bottle of brandy. So this is a bottle of brandy that was based in East London, and like the apples were grown in Hackney, which is like the cool part of London. It's like the hipster part of London. And I just started chopping up apples and drawing apples really simply. And I started drawing hipsters, trendy people who were from East London. And like I started making these stickers. Once I had these stickers, it was kind of really easy to make a label. I just draw a bit like the Time Out thing. I draw lots of little illustrations, and they come together real nice for a bottle of brandy. And yeah, that was a total joy to work on. I love supporting local business, not just like Coca-Cola and Häagen-Dazs and stuff. I like to do ones that are nearby me. So a lot of interesting people who probably live on the street next to you that have probably got the most amazing kind of brand going like this, and it was a joy. And I lastly finished on my solo exhibition, which I did last year. I wanted to celebrate my local community, and I was obsessed with drawing people. So I draw these people, and I'd wrap it around the whole building. And this is my first ever solo show in East London, first ever solo gallery show, and it was really daunting. I stood there at about 6 p.m. by myself. Fast forward, it was full. There's people in there, and there was people on the street. It was pouring out onto the street, and I realized, this lockdown illustration had gone somewhere, and I was really happy with like making a community of cool people. So anyway, that's my style. I'm going to summarize it now. It's the last page of my presentation, but I'm just going to try and sum up my ramblings. Thanks for listening. I'm going to say to you, basically, find your style by stepping away from what you know, away from Instagram, away from trends, away from the creative directors, away from the design industry. Shut it all out and just listen to what makes you feel great. Hell, find euphoria in what makes you feel great. If it makes you feel like dancing when you're drawing something, then you're probably onto the right thing. That's a good feeling. That's a feeling that AI can't replicate. It can't replicate your spirit. So like, I think you're one up on AI already. And once you have something you love, don't just sit on it or leave it on Instagram. Get it out there. Find and use every content you have. Everyone wants beautiful work on their walls. So get it to them, you know, sell it any way you can. And all sales will lead to real life connections. You'll meet amazing people who will lead to real life opportunities. Once you have those opportunities, embrace them with everything you have, and don't get stressed out by it. Embrace it with fun. Creativity is fun. Don't let people like tell you otherwise. A lot of design agencies don't make it fun. So make it fun. It'll show. It will look fun in the product. Don't listen to imposter syndrome. I had to listen to imposter syndrome while doing this talk. Tell it to, you know, do one. And all I can say really is just create what you love and don't ever stop growing it. Anyway, stay brilliant. Thanks for listening. That's my talk.